play.
Hello, Tom Grant here, joined by Isabel. Isabel, long time no chat and long time no see. How have you been keeping in sunny America, sunny stateside?
Well, actually, I've been traveling the Northeast for the last month, so this is the
Right.
first time I'm back in the sun.
Right. Okay. So the northeast of the United States, then,
yeah.
And I take it that's the cold, wintry part, is it?
Very much, yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay. So happy to be back in the sunshine.
Yes, very much so.
Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. And another time when it was sunny, actually sunny in the UK. Was of course Wimbledon, and that's what we're going to look back on today. A particular match that many eyes probably weren't on this match for a couple of reasons, but it turned out to be one of the classics, certainly from the women's side of the draw. An ironic twist, Isabel. I think we were speaking off camera. Was I think me and you were doing the Swiatek Bencic match for the Talking Tennis stream. And that's where our kind of focus was. I know you're concentrating on the Svitolina match, Isabel.
Yeah, I had to get rid of my double feed because my computer was overheating. So I had to pick a match to watch.
Get all this technology and then not the hardware to deal with it. And that one, I think, finished really, really fast. And all attention kind of turned to Azarenka Svitolina. And this one was pretty epic. We watched the end of it. But if you've watched the highlights or what you can remember from the parts that we saw, can you just give us a quick description of what you remember about this particular one?
Yeah. Well, I remember I was keeping an eye on the score while we did the other match because I was rooting for Svitolina and I wanted to see what was gonna happen. And I was worried at first because if I remember correctly, Azarenka took the first set, I think 6-2. And it was kind of a scorcher for her. And so I didn't have a lot of faith in it moving into 3 sets. But then I think I missed the second set. I came in for the third, and the tie break that they had at the end of the third is like unbelievable.
Yeah.
And was just one of the craziest tie breaks in women's tennis that I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
Just like and I don't even think it had to do with like the score line. It just was the level of play was madness.
Yeah, both players were hitting the ball, on the sweet spot, as I often say. Yeah, hitting hard. I think the narrative was Azarenka was defending well, but getting herself out of points. There was a couple of drop shots that were successful, a couple that failed. There was a net cord during the third set, a double net cord, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So yeah, lots to go through. If we start off at the start of the match, I mean, coming into this match, I think Azarenka, she had faced. I'm looking now. She'd faced Kasakina, and she had taken out Podroskova. So it was Azarenka. Svitolina, of course, had played Venus Williams. She'd placed Elise Mertens and Sophia Kenin, who had taken out Coco Gauff. And started off that Coco Gauff run. So, there was so much going on with this match. I think Azarenka had a 5-0 record, head-to-head record against Svitolina. But the crowd, the politics of the Ukraine and Belarus kind of side of things, there was just so much going on that maybe the eyes should have been on this one. Because, like you say, I think looking at the highlights back ahead of this stream, it looked to me as if Svitolina was the one that, started the match the stronger. I think she held serve to love. She was hitting the ball well. She had the crowd on her side. And, you would be forgiven at that point to think, she's playing well. She's played herself into form. She's got the crowd on her back. This is going to be, Svitolina. But like you say, I think, Azarenka, turned the table and kind of turned the narrative and quickly kind of got into her stride. Did you look back at the highlights and figure out, why it was that Azarenka was able to, break twice in the first set? And kind of silence the crowd.
Yeah, I've got the highlights running on the side here.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's Svitolina's like nature to just go into defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I think, what kept her like at that level she was at for so many years. And so, and I think Azarenka knew that if she came out really, really hard that she would get like a head start over Svitolina, and that's just it. She did that's what she did, and it worked. And she just wouldn't give Svitolina an opportunity to fight in any point.
Yeah, I mean,
and forced her to stay like at the baseline, running from side to side. Like she just had control of the ball the whole time. She came out swinging.
yeah, bang on. I think I was going to say that exactly that, Isabel. The fact that you mentioned moving Svitolina from side to side, it very much looked like that was the game plan for the Belarusian. Like, get her moving, bring her into the net as much as we can, move her about the court, try and maybe test that fitness of Svitolina, and see if you can outlast her. And for the main part, it worked. I mean, the match, again, looking at the highlights, it quickly got into the kind of type of match it was going to be, in terms of it's going to be a lot of big hitting from both players, a lot of long rallies from both players.
Yeah.
Corners were being found, angles were being met. And you just, looked at the people in court one at Wimbledon, a sunny afternoon, a late evening, I suppose. And it just looked like this was the perfect match, and people were getting their money's worth, yeah?
Oh, absolutely. I wish I had been there.
We wish we were on that one, I suppose. Looking at it, yeah. So it was one love to Svitolina. Then Azarenka, won her service game and then broke in the very next one, and then broke again to go 4-1 up. And I think there was a chance where she had a chance. I think Svitolina maybe had a break point in the 4-1 game before she managed to fight back, and then it was 5-1 to Azarenka. And then Svitolina quickly put away her first ace in the seventh game of that one, and then it was Azarenka who served it out at 6-2. But then the fun and games really started, because Azarenka, of course, then broke in the very first game of the second set. So and she consolidated, and so it was she was at that point 6-2 up, 2-love up. It was only looking like there was going to be one winner. Yeah. And then, as I say, then there was a turning point. And can you kind of put your finger? I know looking at the highlights is difficult, Isabel, but can you put a turning point on what maybe was the turning point? What did Svitolina do differently, or was maybe Azarenka's level dropped? Can you see by what you're looking at?
I mean, it could have been a combination of both. I mean, Azarenka was, as you said, like really testing Svitolina's fitness in that first set, and I think that had to take a toll on her as well. So it could have been that her level dropped just slightly, and Svitolina could see that and like really took advantage of it. And I think this is something I've seen from Svitolina all year, where she's just going for the offensive more and more. Which is not something she used to do in matches, and I think it held her back a lot. But yeah, I think it was a combination of both. She started hitting and finding the angles better than she was in the first set. She wasn't allowing Azarenka to control those points the way she was in the first set. I think she was trying to finish them quicker. She was moving around a lot less, but mostly just like pushing her offensive mode. And I think that gave her the confidence too, because I think that might have been a factor from coming out of the first set. Gave her that confidence that she could actually go head to head with Azarenka, and it paid off.
Yeah, I was going to mention, like, I think there was definitely something like a mental switch, down 2-love, down a set where you didn't really compete. Well, I mean, it'd be unfair to say didn't really compete, because, as looking at it, most points are either deuce, they're sharing game points, they're sharing break points. Every game is competitive, but there must have been a mental switch there. It must have been like, how many times am I going to be in this position? Wimbledon 4th round, potential, to face the world number one in the next round. I suppose there must have been something, maybe looking over to your box at a changeover, or something that's switched in your head and said, right, I'm going to go down fighting here. This is not going to be my kind of swan song here at Wimbledon. And that's what she did. It just turned the match on its head.
Yeah. I think winning a couple of points in a tennis match can be that enough of a switch for a player. Just winning 2 or 3, just winning one or two games on your own serve can can like make that shift happen. Not personally, because I never win anything, but I think that that's enough for a player sometimes. Like just the little instances of like, okay, yeah, I can, as long as I can win on my serve, and then like you keep moving forward with that.
Yeah, keep putting pressure on your opponent. I think the telling game in this one now, I can't quite remember how long it went on for, but I do remember, like, you know, actually looking at the Wimbledon highlights later on that night, and watching this game and thinking, wow, that would have been great to you know, watch live. It was 3-4 in the second set. Svitolina leading 4-3. It was on the Azarenka serve. And the points, you know, every single point, it just seemed to be were like one of these all-time classic points. You know, Azarenka would have game points to take it to 4-all. Then Svitolina would have a break point. You know, it was just swings and roundabouts, just roller coaster of emotions. Each player punching their box after every point. It was just epic Grand Slam tennis. And I think that was a key point. Do you remember how long that game went on for? I think that
I don't. I've got it here. I've got it playing that game, but yeah, I don't.
Oh, that's playing.
Remember how long it was.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm looking at Azarenka like saved like break points so many times with, like, you know, coming into the net, dropping a volley in there. Svitolina still getting to it, but Azarenka reading the volley and then putting it away. I'm sure there was I'm just going to check there. I'm sure there was a break point saved on a net cord or potentially a drop shot. I'm just looking at one of the points now. You know, Svitolina again has a break point here. Azarenka serving. It was either a really good winner or there was definitely something memorable about it, funnily enough, because I can't remember right now. But there we go. This is it now. Right, okay. So she's brought Svitolina into the net on the break point, and then she's just put it away with a winner. And it really was bad timing in terms of Svitolina coming into the net. But yeah, that game was the one that, you know, stood out. I think that was a turning point. I think you know, Azarenka knew she was in a match there and there was potential. I think up until that point, she was fairly certain that she was going to see this out. But I think, you know, at that point, with Svitolina, even though she won the game, Azarenka, I think Svitolina really put a marker down there. And then obviously in the next game, with Svitolina, won at 5-4. And then we went on to the Azarenka serve. Even here, Azarenka, you know, she's got a game point to level it up at 5-0 in the second set. And you just wonder if she manages to hold here, you know, does she basically see it out, you know, get it to a tie break or win it in that second set? But instead, what she does, she leaves a really short ball on the game point. Svitolina probably hits one of her biggest strikes of the entire, maybe even the entire event. You know, the forehand winner that Azarenka was there in time, but just the speed and the pace of it. And then, you know, Svitolina then goes on to break serve and take the second set. And at that point, all the momentum is with the Ukrainian. You know,
I think the crowd was really behind her during the second set, and that also helped a lot.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, you know, that there was a fairy tale element to Svitolina, and, you know, her story, her journey. You know, the fact that, you know, Ukraine and the whole, you know, war. I think you're bang on the money.
And she just had a baby.
Well, there was that as well, yeah.
Like, I mean, so is Azarenka, so have a ton of other players, but like I think she took the least amount of time off after having a kid. It was like 6 months or less, and that to me is crazy that she would have, like, not only this one, but wasn't it at the French that she also had like a really impressive run? But taking the least amount of time off after having her kid, just like. And then getting to the crazy, I think the craziest for me is that she was at a certain level before, and then after having a kid, her level got way better.
Yeah, I've got to be honest.
I feel like that doesn't happen often. Like the level will change, and you have to like rediscover like your strengths in your whole body. But like her level just like skyrocketed. She was a completely different player for all the better reason. Like absolute fairy tale. You're right.
It was the French. It was the French Open. She got to the quarterfinal, beaten by Sabalenka 6-4, 6-4. But still, you know, a quarterfinal run in Paris is, still, like you say, I actually do not remember Svitolina being on the tour pre-baby and hitting it as hard as she did when she came back. Do you know what I mean? So what you're saying absolutely. There, it was just sitting there ringing bells in my head going, yes, that's exactly right. Because now there'll be people who know the WTA who will tell me that, no, she did hit it that hard beforehand. But, in terms of ball striking, timing, finding the angles, finding the corners, finding the line, and, going toe-to-toe with these big players. I know she was number 3 in the world, but I just do not remember her, having that, like, power. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was Jack who told me that Svitolina was the only player to have beaten like everyone in the top 5, right. or every number one, some crazy statistic for her pre having a baby. But I think that it wasn't that she wasn't hitting the ball that hard before. It's that I think she mostly relied on defense. She was not a really aggressive player. It was just hard to get the ball past her. But now she's got like everything instead of just like relying solely on her defense. She can like pick from a variety of her skills.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, I don't know what happened. I don't know what changed, but I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I've always liked her.
I remember you being a fervent supporter of that match. But going into the third set, as I said, momentum firmly with Svitolina in this 4th round tie. Actually goes 3-love up.
Again, Svitolina.
I'm thinking at this point, Azarenka, she's went too early. She's out of steam. There's no way back here. But again, as in any true classic match, Azarenka bites back and, brings it back to 3-all. As a neutral watching this, if you're in that stadium watching this tennis match, evolve and, are you just sitting there going, right, now I can't even predict where this is going?
I think that's how I was feeling when I was watching it. Because I think it's around this time that we came into watching. And yeah, it was gripping. I had no idea, especially after Azarenka fought back from 3-love in the third. Like I was just like, okay, I have no idea. I have no idea who's going to take this.
But then, all of a sudden, Azarenka bites back. Talk to me then, if you're in the stadium at that point, if you're in the stands watching along, you're just thinking, I've got no idea where this match is going to go from this point.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly how I was feeling watching from home. It was just nail biting. And I'm looking at that particular game now where Azarenka starts to climb back. And I think it was just a confidence thing. Again, like talking about that, I think Svitolina just was on a hot roll and Azarenka just was feeling, unable to fight back, but she won a couple of points, won a game, and then just found that power that she has. And then it just became like this, like on edge for every point, on edge for every game match for like, I think 3-all and beyond for that whole set.
Well, I mean, the whole set, arguably the whole match, every point was just so competitive. I mean, it was like, it took the breath out of your lungs just watching these girls, play tennis and run about the court for, what seemed like 2 hours.
It was a long one.
I think maybe in the third set, at some point, it was going 3-all, then it went to 4-all, and then 5-all, and then, but in the end, the one that we switched on to was that tie break, and it was a roller coaster. I think, if I remember, Azarenka was 7-4 up. The final set tiebreak is first to 10, but she was 3 points away at that point from an epic win, a showdown with Swiatek, who had taken out Bencic. But again, Svitolina, much like the second set, she manages to find something from somewhere. Maybe use the kind of vibe of the crowd, use the energy coming from the crowd, maybe looking at her box. Again, that's just, she could have been down and out, but she manages to fight back. And then I think she fights back to 9-8. In fact. In fact, she had a couple of stabs at it. I think one of the break points may have been Azarenka finally taking hold of a point. She'd been playing such defensive tennis throughout the third set, and she manages to kind of keep on Svitolina's coattails. But yeah, in that final moments of the match,
winning on an ace.
It was winning it on an ace, but if you look back at the match point, the first match point that was saved by Azarenka, that was more like aggressive tennis that Azarenka has made a career of her. She put it away, but against Svitolina this time on her serve, like you say, she has it 10-9. She picks out that serve. It was right out wide on the ad court, and she then dropped to her knees. Much, the majority of people in the crowd celebrated with Svitolina, and of course, then there was the kind of controversy, as some may say, at the end. Most people watching the match would have known that there wasn't going to be a handshake between Azarenka and Svitolina due to the war in Ukraine. Of course, Belarus involved in that from the Russian side. That was obviously going to happen. It's happened in matches beforehand. It happened again here. I think if I remember correctly, Azarenka maybe put some sort of gesture to say "well done" to Svitolina without shaking hands. And then there were some in the Wimbledon crowd who maybe thought that what Azarenka was doing was disrespectful. Do you remember that incident? Did it stand out for you?
I remember it was something about it, but to be honest, like the whole thing feels very old news to me at this point. Like Svitolina has been following that guideline that she set for herself since the beginning of the war. And every single time she's not shaking the hands of a Russian or Belarusian player, it becomes a headline. It's a big deal. The audience gets upset. And I'm kind of tired of hearing about it. Like it's not a big deal anymore. Like we've seen this for 2 years at this point. It's kind of old news. I don't expect her or any Ukrainian player to shake hands with a player, and it's not. And I think on the whole, most of the Russian and Belarusian players have been very respectful of that.
Yeah.
So the fact that the media and sometimes the crowd makes a huge deal out of it feels way overblown to me. Yeah. Like it shouldn't be a controversy at this point.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, as I said, I think Azarenka was actually being respectful, respecting her wishes, not forcing the issue, and actually, giving her an offer of congratulations. And she said after the match, she felt that the Wimbledon crowd and the booing that she received off some in the Wimbledon crowd was unfair. I can remember she did look a bit bemused as she left the court. But then that was the end of her Wimbledon journey. And of course, in the next round was Svitolina Swiatek. And of course, Svitolina coming through that one, much to the shock, enjoyment, maybe horror to some in the talking tennis world. But, we're not here to reflect on that. But, it was some run. What do you remember about that one?
The Swiatek match, I don't remember much of it. I should go and rewatch the highlights. But I do remember, being in awe that Iga could not, get on a roll in that match, and it was just Svitolina the whole way. I was really shocked. I think I might have been on a live stream with that one as well. I think that was when Jack told me that Svitolina had the best record against number one players. Yeah. So it didn't surprise me though. I think that Svitolina had this incredible run, especially after this match. Who did she took? Quarterfinals, it was Iga, and then who was it in the semis that she lost to? Was it Sabalenka?
Vondrousova. I'm sure she won Vondrousova, and it was Ons Jabeur and Sabalenka in the other semi-final.
Right.
Ons Jabeur
that was also an incredible match. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Vondrousova, winning the overall. Well, this has been good to catch up. Would you rank it? I know you didn't manage to watch it live, but when you look back at the highlights, you see how big the tussle was on court. Do you think this was one of the matches off Wimbledon?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was. It had everything that I love about tennis in it. It was, there was like personal dramas and vendettas going on. There was it was three full sets. It was the second set and third sets were absolute nail biters. Like it had the fast power, like it was everything. It had everything that I like about the sport in it. And this would be a match that if anyone says the women's tennis is boring, this is one of the matches I would make them watch.
Well, if anyone watching this, wants to go back, I'm sure you'll be able to find it on YouTube or maybe an iPlayer somewhere. But listen, Isabel, it's been good to catch up to you. I'm sure we will do it again in the new year. But yeah, Svitolina Azarenka finished 7-6, I think 11-9 in the final set tiebreak. But yeah, a really, really tough one. Good stuff. Okay, Isabel, good to chat.
Good to see you.
And I'm sure we'll see you on the other side, all right?
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell